The mystery of the Mary Celeste, the mysterious disappearance beyond the horizon. Imagine a ship drifting across the ocean. There is no one on board, no people, no signs of struggle. The sails are in perfect condition, the cargo is intact, and the ship floats calmly on the waves. Where did the crew go? What really happened on board the Mary Celeste? This is one of the greatest maritime mysteries that has intrigued both historians and paranormal investigators for over 150 years. Get ready to dive into a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The beginning of the voyage, the Mary Celeste was a sturdy, two-masted brigantine with a displacement of 282 tons. Built in 1861, it served under various names before eventually being renamed Mary Celeste. The ship was unremarkable. It was just one of many commercial vessels navigating the Atlantic at the time. On November 5, 1872, in New York, Captain Benjamin Briggs, along with his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and his 7-man crew set sail for Genoa, Italy, carrying a cargo of industrial alcohol. Captain Briggs was an experienced sailor. He had numerous voyages under his belt, was respected among sailors, and had never been associated with any suspicious activities. The weather conditions at the beginning of their journey were favorable, and the crew seemed to be in good spirits. Nothing indicated the impending tragedy. The discovery of the ship, on December 4, 1872, less than a month after the Mary Celeste set sail, the British ship Dei Gratia, traveling the same route from Nova Scotia to Gibraltar, came across the drifting vessel. Captain David Morehouse of the Dei Gratia knew Captain Briggs and was surprised to see his ship at sea, but with no visible crew. He decided to send a boarding party to investigate what had happened. Upon boarding, the crew of the Dei Gratia discovered something that would forever be etched in maritime mystery. The ship was in excellent condition, undamaged in any way. The cargo of alcohol remained intact, as did the provisions of food and water. However, there was no one on board. There were no signs of struggle, violence, or fire. Even the personal belongings of the captain and crew remained in place, ruling out a sudden escape. However, one of the lifeboats was missing. Theories and speculations. Since the day the empty ship Mary Celeste was found, many theories, both rational and more fantastical, have been proposed. The lack of clear evidence, combined with the mysterious nature of the event, has led to speculation ranging from scientific explanations to entirely supernatural hypotheses. Let's take a closer look at some of the most popular theories. Pirate attack. One of the first theories considered was the possibility of a pirate attack. In the 19th century, such assaults were not unusual in the Atlantic, and sailors often faced robbers who could strike without warning. However, in the case of the Mary Celeste, this theory was quickly dismissed. The question was raised, why would pirates leave a valuable cargo of alcohol untouched and the ship fully operational? Pirates would not leave such wealth behind, and there were no signs of a struggle, injuries, or blood on board that would suggest a confrontation. Everything indicated that the crew abandoned the ship without a fight and without haste. Mutinous crew. Another theory posited that there may have been a mutiny on board. Maritime history is filled with cases where crews decided to rebel against harsh captains or unfavorable conditions on the ship. Could Captain Benjamin Briggs have fallen victim to mutinous sailors? This hypothesis was also difficult to sustain. Captain Briggs had an excellent reputation. He was a well-known and respected sailor with a long career. None of the crew members had a history of crimes or acts of disobedience. All records suggested that the voyage proceeded smoothly until the mysterious abandonment of the ship. Toxic alcohol vapors. One of the more convincing and popular theories involves a leak of industrial alcohol. The cargo carried by the Mary Celeste included over 1,700 barrels of alcohol, which was used mainly for industrial purposes rather than consumption. This substance was highly flammable, and released vapors could pose a serious threat. This theory suggests that there could have been a leak of one or more barrels of alcohol, causing the buildup of toxic, flammable gases in the hold. The resulting panic on board might have led the captain and crew to evacuate for fear of an explosion. Perhaps they believed the ship was about to explode and thus abandoned it in haste, taking to the lifeboat. However, the ship never exploded and the crew never returned. This would explain the lack of damage on board and the intact cargo, but leaves the question, what happened to the evacuated crew? Did they perish in the rough seas, or did they make a mistake thinking they were in greater danger than they actually were? Natural disaster, underwater earthquake, or tsunami. Another possible cause could be a sudden, powerful weather phenomenon. This theory suggests that the ship might have been affected by an underwater earthquake, which triggered a series of mini tsunamis. Such an event could have shaken the ship, causing the crew to panic, fearing that the vessel was about to sink. Waves might have flooded the deck, seemingly threatening the stability of the Mary Celeste, but once the tremors subsided, it turned out that the ship survived. The crew might have been in the lifeboat at that time, but the waves could have swept them out to open sea, leaving the ship drifting unattended. Attacked by a whale or giant squid. This theory, though sounding more like a maritime horror story, has some basis in certain maritime records. There are documented cases where ships were attacked by large sea creatures, such as whales or giant squids. Is it possible that the crew of the Mary Celeste encountered such a creature, causing panic? If a giant squid had attacked, it could have seized the crew, pulling them into the water while the rest of the crew scrambled into the lifeboat. However, this scenario seems unlikely due to the lack of damage on board. Paranormal theory, abduction by UFO. In times when maritime mysteries stirred the imagination, there were also theories involving supernatural forces. Proponents of this theory suggested that the crew of the Mary Celeste might have been abducted by extraterrestrial beings. Ghost ships, UFOs, and other paranormal explanations were popular in the 19th century, when scientific explanations for mysteries were not as prevalent. Though fascinating, this theory has no evidence and relies solely on speculation related to the lack of any signs on board. Onboard fire. There is also a theory that a small fire might have occurred on the ship, possibly in the hold where the flammable alcohol was stored. The fire could have quickly spread and been extinguished, but in the face of an explosion threat, the crew might have abandoned the ship in the lifeboat. However, the lack of any signs of a fire on the ship casts doubt on this hypothesis. Despite the Mary Celeste possibly being at risk, no damage indicating a fire was found. What really happened? The mysterious disappearance of the crew of the Mary Celeste remains one of the most fascinating mysteries in maritime history, with no conclusive explanation. Although the ship was found in good technical condition, drifting in the Atlantic Ocean, and Captain Benjamin Briggs was an experienced and respected sailor, everyone on board disappeared without a trace. The absence of any signs of violence, struggle, or natural disaster makes the case intriguing for over 150 years. Why did the crew abandon the ship? This question has been at the center of interest for researchers, historians, and even writers and filmmakers from the start. Despite many hypotheses, there is no single, irrefutable piece of evidence that definitively explains this mystery. Each new theory raises more questions than answers, and investigations conducted over the years only deepen the aura of mysteries. The Mary Celeste. One of the key suggestions made by researchers is that the ship was not lacking in supplies. Food and water were present in large quantities, ruling out the theory of a desperate escape due to hunger or thirst. The ship's log ended with an entry indicating that the voyage was proceeding without major issues, which casts doubt on a sudden event that might have prompted the crew to leave the ship. Despite the ship being well maintained, it is hard to understand what could have prompted the captain and crew to make such a drastic decision. It is possible that there was a misjudgment of the situation, such as excessive fear of an alcohol leak and potential explosion, which at the time was a real threat at sea. However, could that have been enough for an experienced sailor like Briggs to abandon the ship in the open ocean, risking the lives of himself and his crew? The missing crew. What could have happened to them? The most significant element of this mystery is the fact that the crew vanished without a trace. What fate might have befallen them? Did they drift helplessly in the lifeboat, struggling against the forces of nature before being swallowed by the ocean? Or perhaps they encountered a sudden disaster they could not anticipate. The fact that the lifeboat was never found raises further questions. If it were an ordinary maritime accident, fragments of the boat or crew remains might have surfaced or reached the shores. However, nothing of the sort ever occurred. This leads some theories to consider more dramatic events, such as sudden storms, attacks by large sea creatures, or even abductions. The mystery lives on, despite numerous investigations, theories, and the work of many researchers. The case of the Mary Celeste remains unsolved. The mystery of the missing crew continues to provoke discussions, inspire new theories, and capture the imagination of people interested in maritime history and mysteries. Even today, the case evokes curiosity and wonder, as every new hypothesis only deepens the enigma surrounding the ship. If you're fascinated by maritime mysteries and unsolved historical enigmas, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on future episodes. Share your theories about the disappearance of the Mary Celeste in the comments. Maybe together we'll uncover new clues?